Hello and welcome to another video. Today's video we'll be using the To a Wild Rose stamp set to create this kind of spotlight card here that you see before you. So let's go ahead and get started. So you don't really need a ton of materials for this, though this is a little bit more of a casual crafter person who would be able to make this, just because we're using die cuts, though you could definitely use like a circle punch if you had them. So you could definitely make this a bit more simplified if you wished. So that is definitely an option for you. So let's go ahead and get started on how to make this. So I've already mounted my stamps on my blocks where I used the rose as well as the leaf image, because the first thing you want to do is actually stamp on your images here first. And we're using the Memento Tuxedo Black ink because we are going to be using the blends. So let us go ahead and use our Stampin' Pierce mat. Again, this is currently in the process of being manufactured. They had thought that they were going to get rid of it, and then enough people were like, no, we use it all the time with our photopolymer stamps, these clear ones, please bring it back. And so they did. So let's go ahead then and get this out. And then I like to keep mine kind of clean, so let me grab, there we go, let's just grab an old piece of paper here. And so now I stamped on my roses first, and then I went and I stamped on my leaves. Although I did stamp my leaves on with a mask, and I'll show you how to do that. And I do recommend that you kind of rotate your stamps a little bit to make it a bit more unique in terms of, it'll look a little less, I don't know, what's the word? I don't know, it's more like, it'll look a bit more abstract, right? It'll look more normal, natural, if you will. So I've stamped on 3. Usually things are pleasing to the eye in groups of 3. So I figured I would do 3 in this case. So in order to make your mask, all you do is you take your ink pad. Here, let me move this out of the way. You take your ink pad, you figure out where the stickiness is, so it's up here, and then you go ahead and you stamp it at the top so that you have as much of the stickiness as possible on your piece. So in this case, I can just put this, well actually I need it for my flowers, or my leaves. So I'll put it off to the side. So what you do when you take it off and you cut it out, what you'll actually do is you'll cut it out. You can probably see from here, it's not perfect. Let me bring it up a little closer. So you can see there's black ink all around it, because what you want to do is cut it like into the line so that when you stamp on top of it, there will be, as you can tell from my version here, right up, well, let's see if I can, most of it's covered up, but essentially notice here how the leaves look like they are in fact behind this flower, right? That's on purpose so that there wouldn't be some kind of a gap there. So that's why I did it that way. So, and you do want to do the whole flower if possible, so that when you rotated your stamp earlier, it would definitely make sense as to where you actually found it. So looks like this one here goes right there. And then you will want to let it dry a little bit when you stamp it, because otherwise as you start moving it, your fingers will get inky, and that will be problematic in the long run. So let's go ahead and stamp on some leaves. Whoops, that just picked right up. All right, let's pick that up, move it to right here. Adhere it down with the sticky, and this will last for a little while too. Like, you don't have to get a new sticky note every time you are making a card using masking. I'm actually going to stick this sticky note into my case for my stamp set so that I can use it again the next time I create with this particular stamp set. So this one here, the sticky is actually going off the paper, so just make sure you don't move the cardstock very much for that one. And actually that one I want just the tip of that one to peek out. And then let's do one more over here. And then for good measure, let's have a leaf just kind of come in over here. Oop. That way we don't have a bunch of white space. Beautiful. So that is that stamping. Let's go ahead and stamp our last little bit that we need the black ink for. I have here just a little strip of purple posy, and this is 4 1/4 by 1/2 inch, and this is oh, actually I need that for the sentiment. So I originally used the to be your friend, the sentiment here, to be your friend, but I found that it was a little too long with me wanting to put blessed straight across, so I am using now to know you. If you were to have it at a different level though, you could definitely have used that sentiment. So there's that. And that is all of the black ink that I need. I'll go ahead and put this off to the side. So now comes the next step here. So we are going to actually mount this on a piece of black cardstock before we mount it onto our card base. But in order to do the spotlighting technique, you actually need to cut out the image. So I'm going to try to center this up as much as possible. Let's move this stuff out from underneath so I can see my lines a little better. So I'm lining it up, and this is just a piece of washi tape. If you have a magnetic platform, then that might help. However, I have found that even using a magnetic platform, sometimes things want to move. And here's the trick, ready? I have it mounted on a piece of black, but I pulled it from here rather than using another scrap of paper. And this one doesn't matter as much because this piece will actually be behind it. So I will go ahead and die cut these through my die cutting machine, and I'll be right back. And I'm back. So now that I have my pieces die cut, I just gently remove it here. I did, before I used the washi tape, some washi tapes are really good at being unsticky. Sometimes they're a little worse. This is from actually like years ago, some Christmas washi tape. So I did like stick it onto my hands a few times beforehand. So let's go ahead, before we do the coloring, let's go ahead and adhere this down to our panel piece. Move these out of our way. Grab our seal. So all you do, a little bit in each corner. You really don't need too much with this. This is surprisingly good adhesive. I'm glad that they changed the original formula to being something a bit more, oh, that's a good question now. Do I want it? Yeah, let's do it this way for our top. There we go. And then we can actually just adhere this straight down to our cardstock base as well. Oop. You do want to make sure you get the corners so that they don't lift up much. There we go. And yeah, let's put this flower up here in the corner. Essentially, I'm going to flip the card stock that I made there. Alright, so this is ready, but now we need to color this in before we add it here and mount it up. So let's go ahead and do that. To color these, I have chosen the new Just Jade and Purple Posy. I did color in the flowers first, and I actually used the dark piece first to kind of add the lines of shading that I'm going to add in here. I'm actually not doing anything specific. I'm just coloring in where the flower would be. And then, oopsie, and that was part of the leaf, but really, I don't think we'll be able to tell much. And then I come in and then kind of just in a major flow here, color in the purple. And you can tell here this color looks a little pink at the moment, but as it dries, it will look a lot closer to the cardstock, and you'll see that here in a minute. It will take a little bit to dry though. I found that this color seems to take a smidge longer than some of the others, which is fine. Okay, so there's that. And then let's do the same thing to our Just Jade. This one, we're gonna, there we go. And what's nice about this is that if you make this card, you'll find that every single card you make will be different depending on where you stamped everything. So if you stamped it, even if you tried to stamp it in the same general places, you're still going to find that they're all going to be a little unique, which is going to be extra fun for the people that you would send this card out to. There we go. So then we'll go ahead and just stick this down. Oh. Still getting the hang of this one. And a little bit more. Ah, see, it's sticking to my fingers. That's how sticky it is. Come on. There we go. So go ahead and adhere that nice and centered. And the choice here, I could have picked a bigger piece, right? I could have die cut a larger piece, but usually for spotlighting it's kind of fun to have it be a smaller section. So let's go ahead and pop that up on dimensionals, and then we will get our sentiment done. Alright, so for our sentiment, we have already stamped half of it. We just need the other half, which I chose the other word in the stamp set called blessed. And for this, see here, I'm trying to kind of line it up with the lines all around and also make it nice and level. So there's that. So for our stamp set, our stamped sentiment, if we were to have it this wide, notice it would go flush with the side. For this one I did cut it down a little bit, but really it's kind of up to you at this point. So for the sentiment, I'm using Just Jade, a scrap of white, and our Pierce Knight again, just to make sure we get the best coverage. And we'll just stamp that up, and or ink it up, I mean, haha, and then just stamp it down. There we go. So what's nice about this is that you could have absolutely used black ink if you had wanted to. I thought that bringing in the green again would be nice to have it there. So, but now we're going to actually cut this out. So for cutting this out, there are a few tricks that you can learn about it. One of the things that I did when I made my sample is I actually cut out kind of farther away from the word before I started to get in closer, just because once you start cutting away, you can always cut more, you can't cut less. So I did make sure that I wanted to have it that close right before I committed. So I did make it a little bit more spacey first, and then I went in and then I trimmed it further. So there's that. And so notice here I'm moving my paper, not really my wrist. So I'm actually, I'm going to come back into those larger spaces, but I like having a bit more of the nitty-gritty pieces done here, the side, the smaller pieces, the smaller letters, I mean, the loops. So notice here, whoop, whoop, and then there we go, and then I'll go back into these two sections here. There we go. And you could always have die cut this or punched it out. There are a lot of options here. You could have done so many things. There we go. So there's that. Then you can just toss your little scraps And now for your card, all that you have left to do is adhere these two pieces together. So what I did, I actually just used the fine tip glue, or not the fine tip glue, the multi-purpose glue for this one onto the purple. And then I did the dimensionals. And notice I only put glue on the larger section of the word so as to make sure that I would not have glue coming out from behind the sentiment. So now if I wanted to have it flush with the card, which in this case, you know what, let's go ahead and do that. I just put dimensionals. Notice there's already dimensionals on the inside right here, so all I need are dimensionals on the opposite side. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And if I want to make sure it really sticks down, I can add a little bit of the seal in the middle so that it'll actually stick down to our colored piece here, the one that we colored in with the blends. So, and again, notice I made it sure to put it in the middle. And so there we go. Let's make sure that's nice and straight. Press that down, and there we go. The card, the same style, the same design, same colors, but two very different looking cards. If you have any questions or need any of the materials, feel free to leave a comment or follow the links below to my blog, as well as to descriptions on how to make these. And then if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to go ahead and subscribe, and I will be posting more coming up real soon. Have a great day. Bye.